We have to be very patient with ourselves, patient with our spouses. The way our children will see marriage and love in the future is the way that we love our spouses, the way that we connect with them, the way that we are patient and kind, the way that they will see the world is through how we interact with them, but mainly how we interact with, the closest people in our lives. They're watching every step of the way. I cannot emphasize this enough. The way that my children mimic us, crazy, like crazy. The catchphrases, the body language, the jokes, the nuances, the looks. It's just it's actually quite thrilling to watch them grow, and as they grow, love and connect with each other. You are literally a living example, and you are teaching them. They say the first 3 years of life in the womb, and 2 years and 6, 7, 8, 9 months, depending on how long the baby is in the womb for. That is more important than the next 10 to 15 years of their life. And that's because things that are forming in them is safety, is rhythm, their circadian rhythm, is the way that the skin to skin, the way they interact with the world, the way they hear voices, the way they hear tones, the mimicking, their facial expressions. There's so much psychology and science that goes into these first 3 years. And granted, of course, the next 10 to 15 are hugely formative. You're going to deal with a lot of your morality. You're going to deal with your puberty. You're going to deal with your sexuality. Those types of things are going to start to perk up, and obviously into probably your teens to your mid 20s, when your brain finally stops forming. Those are obviously the ending of the formative years. Then I've heard a lot of child psychologists say you have until about 25. So if your kiddos are doing crazy stuff even when they're in their teenage years, don't give up. Especially if any Christian parents, don't give up. There was a reason why in the wilderness, I think God told Moses that no one under 20 years old would be accountable for the sins of the parents and what they were doing. And that gives me a lot of hope, because there's a lot of teenagers, there's a lot of youth and even people just getting into their 20s who are making really big mistakes. And I think God has a lot of patience with us, and we have to have patience with people. Now, granted, I don't want to go down that whole juvie thing and all that stuff. If you do a crime, I think you should do the time, and there's a bunch of stuff we'll probably talk about in the future. But when it comes to the day-to-day, the mistakes, the growth, we got to look at ourselves first. And there's at times amazing parents and their children just don't want to listen. But a lot of the time, the nuances, the way we look at things, the way we deal with things, the way we've set them up in the foundation for how they're going to live and grow is a lot of it's on us and the time that we spend. I see way too many parents that are sacrificing their kids, and again, sorry, let me say this, let me always say it, let me backtrack. There are many circumstances that I don't understand. There are parents, single parents, or people who are in abusive relationships. I'm not talking about you whatsoever. I'm talking about the people who have a decent relationship, everything's going well, and they need the extra house. They need the cottage. They need the extra car. They both need to be working extra. Both need that bonus. They need to get their kids into gymnastics and all stuff. You don't need a lot of that stuff. You need to spend your time with them. The time will slip away, and it's heard a million times over, but it is so crucial to their development, to who they are as people. I cannot tell you this enough. If you have an opportunity to scale back some hours, and even if it's annoying, take your teenagers out somewhere and let them just breathe for a while. They may hate your guts at first, but I promise you, even though my parents had mental health issues, even though I've struggled a lot, I've gone through a lot of abuse, lived in tough neighborhoods, had all this tough stuff happen to me, when my parents tried to spend time with me, and when they took us, packed us in a van, drove us across the country, even though I was dealing with a father who had obsessive compulsive disorder, and we'd sit in a parking lot for an hour, 2 hours sometimes as he goes through his systems. And you just feel like your brain is going to explode and you have zero patience as a teenager. I still remember standing in front of the mountains in Alberta, and I still remember seeing, the sandy hills in PEI. I still remember, how they tried and how they did some good things as well. And kids, we're always going to romanticize the good and the bad, right? Romanticize the good and really hold on to and really like latch into the negative. Anyway, I say all that to say, future parents, parents right now, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever, just spend your time with the kiddos. Just ask them how they're doing. Again, my suggestion is ask negatively what's really ticking you off, which political leader, whatever is ticking you off, and I guarantee you, that's gonna open a bit of a gateway for them to start talking about random stuff. And even if it's like sounds nonsensical to you, you just dig in, and then sooner or later you give them some compliments, you share with them about their life and who they are, and maybe you throw in a story, and then you get the good stuff, the stuff you want to hear about, and they can know and trust you, because this generation is looking for trust. They're looking for long form content. They're looking, there's the highest religious group right now is the 14 to 29-year-olds. They are aching for leadership. They're aching for people to move forward with them and to connect with them. So, take the time if you have an opportunity. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'm also open to chatting. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. Like 450 videos. I used to do all my health stuff where I lost 120 pounds. I've been able to keep it off for 15 years, doing fitness stuff as well. So the main part of my life right now is to talk about faith, talk about fitness of all kinds, and talk about fatherhood. So that's why I'm doing videos where I'm doing the dishes and looking into life. And I appreciate anyone and everyone who is coming on. And to y'all who've been watching me for some time, I appreciate you. And again, if you have any comments or questions, that would be cool. Or like and subscribe. Probably could ramble on for a bit longer, but I also want to kind of keep these tight and short, so I have the bandwidth to do this, I hope, almost every day, except Sundays. I'm going to rest. I have long days at church and stuff like that. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, brother? Woo! So thank you. But yeah, I appreciate it. And, to those of you who've struggled with your parents, there's hope. I'm living proof of that. You can get over those things, and with good counsel, with godly people around you, life can change. So, think of those milestones, but think of them from your own perspective if you're a parent, and just try to do one positive thing for the day. If you'd like to watch any of the other dad doing dishes, just take a look right here, and you can subscribe right here. I am Stephen Tocher. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night. God bless.